and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical astrology insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to see more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. Also, please comment in the comment section with anything that you would like to give as feedback for this video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. You can check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. Thank you. And also, I have started a tarot channel more recently than this channel. And I'm also going to be linking that in the video description. In case you like tarot, you might want to go ahead and check it out. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, maybe consider subscribing if you are interested in tarot. Thank you. So, today's video is going to be about transits for 2023. And as I said, I am starting with Aries because that was the first sign that I extracted among my ruffles. So I'm going to start as usual with an introduction, and this introduction is going to be the same for all of the videos in this series for 2023. So if you listen for it once, then it will be the same for all of the videos in this series. So mainly I'm going to start by saying that as I also mentioned last year, you can use these videos with predictions for 2023 for your moon sign as well as for your ascendant sign. You probably remember that I mentioned that you can take your moon sign as ascendant and look at the rest of your planets from your moon sign, and that is called a Chandra Lagna chart. Meaning literally taking the moon as an ascendant and looking at the rest of the placements from the moon. And especially if the moon in your horoscope, in your natal chart, is in a lower degree than the ascendant or the Lagna, it might be particularly relevant for you to look at the moon chart as opposed to the Lagna chart. Both of them are important though. It's just that in certain situations, the Chandra Lagna or the Moon Lagna can be more important when it comes to predictions. Okay, that's something that I wanted to say. Also, I have divided the year into three main parts as usual with respect to transits. Now, in the first roughly 2 weeks of 2023, the placements will be basically very much the same as they were in the end of 2022, or as they are going to be at the end of 2022. So if you want to see your predictions, you can just go back to my 2022 series and rewatch the chart 3 phase for the ascendant that you have or the moon sign that you have in my videos for 2022. I'm gonna link the playlist for 2022 transits in this video description. So go ahead and watch that for the roughly 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of 2023. So from January 1st until roughly January 14th, 2023, when Saturn is going to be in Capricorn. So the main divisions that I have looked at for 2023 are from roughly January 14th until April 19th, 2023, when Rahu is going to be in Aries, Jupiter is going to be in Pisces, Saturn is in Aquarius. The second chart is going to be when Rahu, from around April 19th until December 2nd, 2023, when Rahu is going to be in Aries, Jupiter is going to be in Aries, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius. And then the final section is going to be from December 2nd until the end of 2023, or roughly December 31st, 2023, when Rahu will be in Pisces, Jupiter in Aries, Saturn in Aquarius. So these are the three main sections that I will be looking at for all ascendants. And if you look at the charts, I have marked the planets. RA means Rahu, JU means Jupiter, SA means Saturn, KE means Ketu. And I will be marking the aspects for each of these with a different color. Yellow for Jupiter, red for Rahu, or pink for Rahu, gray for Saturn, and that's about it. I haven't marked the Ketu aspects because Ketu is always opposite Rahu. Okay, so Ketu, just like Rahu and Jupiter, also aspects the 5th and the 9th houses from itself in addition to the house that it opposes. So this is just for you to know, but I haven't marked them, these aspects, Ketu's aspects, on the chart just to keep it, simple. And yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted to say as an introduction. And now I'm going to get into the individual descriptions for the sign at hand. So hello Sagittarius, this is your reading for 2023 predictions, and I'm going to start straight with the chart 1 phase. So the chart 1 phase is from around January 14th until April 19th, 2023. And for you, the main influences are going to be Jupiter, which happens to be your ascendant lord, falling into the 4th house, also aspecting the 8th and the 12th houses, as well as the 10th house by opposition. So this is really a great time for you, obviously, in terms of finances, career opportunities, your home life, as well as relationship with your mother figure and your mother's side of the family. This is also a good time for your physical home, literally, so the place that you live in. You might want to do all kinds of improvements during this time, and this is also a good time to invest in a property or to invest in a vehicle, because 4th house is also about vehicles. This is going to be a time of stability and optimism when it comes to your emotional state as well, and also you're going to have pretty good vitality. Since Jupiter is also in Pisces, this is also a lot of luck, like I said. So there's going to be luck with respect to these areas that Jupiter touches. Since it also aspects the 8th house, this is a good time for those of you who have invested. So you have things like stocks and bonds. This is also a good time for people who are have taken out a mortgage in the past, or if you have credit card debt, you can, work towards repaying it during this time. Also, if you have joint finances with your spouse, this is a good time for your finances. So it could be that some of your debt is going to get smaller, or you might have an opportunity because of your spouse, like maybe you can be taking out a loan together with your spouse or something like that, for those of you who are married. Also, if you are married, this is a good time for the relationships with your in-laws as well. And overall, this is a good time with respect to your bedroom life, because you have the aspect of Jupiter on both the 8th and the 12th house. So you might actually see an increase in your interest in this area. Let me put it like that. There might also be a tendency on your part to, I don't want to say it, but have a little bit of a wandering eye, because the 12th house shows secret affairs. For some of you, okay, it depends a lot on what else is happening in the horoscope. But since you have this connection between the 4th and the 12th houses, for many of you, this is a good time to travel. For some of you, this may even be a time when you can move abroad, especially if it's something to do with your career. Like you could get a job opportunity away from your place of birth. This is also a time when you might feel drawn to, ironically, spend a lot of time in isolation and spend a lot of time in your little nest in your home. And or you could be spending a lot more time with your family, especially the family of origin. For those of you who have been away from your place of birth, this is probably a time when you're going to feel drawn to travel back there. There will be a lot of effort being put into your education during this time, speculative investments as well. So, and be careful, actually, this is not a great time for you to gamble. So be careful. Don't take any huge risks because you might get into deception, especially if you are, especially if you're dealing with foreigners, let's say, let me put it like that, people of foreign origin or you might get some offers from foreign places that tell you how to invest your money or something like that. Be careful because you might be running into people who are deceptive. But you definitely feel drawn to putting a lot of effort into your, investments during this time. And you can succeed in increasing your money if you want to invest, as long as you don't leave much to chance. You have to take calculated risks during this time. But you are also going to put a lot of effort into your education, into your relationship to your kids, if you have kids. And also you're going to be putting a lot of effort into your romantic relationship. But when it comes to romance, of course, it's probably a good idea to just focus on yourself and your hobbies and doing what you love rather than pushing too hard, right? Like you might have a tendency to chase a romantic interest during this time. And it's probably not the best time to be focusing your attention towards that. For some of you, more specifically, you might be taking a trip together with your family of origin, someone in your family of origin, maybe younger siblings. There's also a lot of effort put towards education, like I said, higher education especially, so college degree and above, or any kind of specializing courses. During this time, people are going to listen to you a lot more, so you're definitely going to be favored if you want to be a teacher, for instance, or if you want to travel abroad, or if you're working with something that implies travel, dealing with foreign cultures. But what I do see is you're definitely going to be favored in any position where you are sharing knowledge with others. So that makes me think of teaching. Especially for those of you, this is very specific, but this is a good time for people who want to pursue studies in musical instruments or music, especially higher education. But you're going to see slow progress. So you have to work hard and do a lot of repetitive work in order to see progress during this time. And you're going to have to be very disciplined as well. You also just have, a lot of drive during this, actually throughout this entire year, because you have Saturn in Aquarius, and this is continued from the past period, that this is a great time for you to really get things done, to work towards your goals, and to, first of all, clarify what your goals are. And especially for those of you who want to start your own business, this is a great time, or to work towards increasing your business. And especially if you, again, want to work together with your family of origin, you want to start something together with your family of origin, and or it could be something connected to music, arts, finances, like banking, stuff like that, or anything to do with communication. And that's another thing for those of you who have been thinking of maybe writing a book or publishing. This is a good time. And Let me see what else. This is a great time for creative expression. I definitely see something. I mean, of course, it depends on the person, but there's a lot of creative energy. There's a lot of focus on developing your creativity and also getting an education. So, this is going to be potentially a good time with respect to creative expression of any kind. It could be writing, teaching to some extent, but I mean, especially specifically creative things like dramatic arts, getting on stage, singing, and also working with kids. Because you have Saturn aspecting all of the travel houses, but yes, actually, all of the travel houses, and this is going to be true throughout the year. You might be getting frustrations when it comes to travel. So it doesn't mean that you can travel, but you can expect minor annoyances, obstacles, and stuff like that. So I'm just telling you to prepare for this. I actually had a similar transit this year, so I know what I'm talking about. Like, and when you have these Saturn aspects on the travel department, it's best if you prepare for any scenario. Take as many precautions as possible. Don't leave stuff to chance. This is just my advice. And let me see what else. There could be potentially some arguments, and again, this could be throughout the entire year, but especially during when Rahu is in Aries, which is most of the year. You might have some arguments also with mentors and with your father figure and professors. If you have professors, especially in higher levels of education like PhD, master's degree, and above, I mean, this is a great time really to get a job, to get any kind of any kind of increase in your profession. You might get more opportunities in your profession during this time. So, not so much, I would say, with respect to finance, actually. I mean, you can, of course, also gain in finance, but it will be more due to your own efforts, not because there's a lot of luck there. But you could be getting opportunities that are directly gonna help you grow professionally with respect to experience and, build a foundation for your future career path. You have, let me see, Jupiter. Oh, this is a great time for people who want to be like I said, teachers. Really, this is a repeated thing. You want to also, if you want to be in publishing, a writer, but also people who are real estate agents and any kind of work that you do from home really is going to be favored during this time. Because you have Jupiter aspecting the 12th house, but also you have Saturn there, this could be a great time when you might get compensation. So even if, I don't know, if especially if you have had, let's say, previous conflicts with a company or something, you're maybe have been involved in a lawsuit, this chances are that you will get some monetary compensation during this time. Hmm. Because of Ketu's influence on the 11th, you could be losing interest in friendships during this time, or you may feel more introverted. And this is throughout most of the year when Rahu is in Aries. So you might, even worst case scenario, you might have friends that just fall by the bandwagon. They might even disappear. Worst case scenario, they might ghost you or even pass away. You might have friends, especially friends or people in your larger social circle, acquaintances. Worst case scenario could be siblings, older siblings, especially. But because you have Ketu in the 11th, the interesting thing is that if you want to make the most of your career during this time, you're going to have a spiritual perspective on whatever work you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work in a spiritual field, or, I don't know, you have to be 100% of service to others, like being a nurse or, I don't know, like a religious teacher or something. But whatever line of work you're doing, you have to have an attitude of like a spiritual thing. Like you are doing this for others, you're helping others, and you have to think about how you fit into the whole, and also how you're being of service, basically, in a spiritual sense. And that is going to help you make the most of your career during this year and be satisfied and keep your job and also progress at your job. You could also, more specifically, be having people somewhat from abroad. You could be getting a friend from abroad, like maybe you meet someone, a foreigner, or someone who lives in a faraway land, and they will become your friend. There's a lot of energy being put into your physical appearance as well. You will be probably putting a lot of effort into making the most of your physical appearance, the physical body, expressing yourself creatively through your look. And this is also a good time to work on yourself in any way, on your physical body, literally. So, with respect to workouts and stuff like that, but also for people who are thinking about things like, adjustments, like plastic surgery or injections or anything like that. So this is pretty much it. This is what I can see for the chart 1 phase. So let's see with the chart 2 phase. You have, so this is from around April 19th until December 2nd, 2023. The main change is that Rahu and Jupiter are basically moving in together in the 5th house. So this is a great time for speculative gain. I would suggest, again, I don't want to encourage gambling. I think I've said this in other videos. But this is the time, if any, when you should be playing the lottery, or, because you might be really favored when it comes to your luck, especially gaining something out of luck. And you might be getting some kind of a windfall financially during this time as well. But I do stress this, a lot of this will depend on what else is happening in your individual horoscope, because of course it's different for everybody. There will be also, again, this is a great time for people who, want to express themselves creatively, especially people who are into dancing during this time, or any kind of profession where you are center stage and people are looking at you. And again, this can also be for actors. Interesting. You could be gaining something with respect to property or vehicles. So, yes. See how this resonates. Again, if you are thinking of investing, this is a great time to buy a property, maybe for investments or stuff like that, if you have been thinking about this. This is also a good time to study anything connected to vehicles or real estate. Or, of course, real estate can also be things like architecture, anything to do with homes and home decoration. And Still a lot of effort put into your education. I can see this. And this is also a good time for education. Like I mentioned, it's continuous. This is probably even better than the first phase. I definitely see that for some of you, you might be getting some kind of a windfall during this time financially. But of course, this doesn't mean that you can be irresponsible with your finances, but you can expect to get some windfall or some kind of an increase in your finances during this time. The same thing stands what I said about you might lose a friend really during this time somehow, like they might disappear from your life. But most likely there's also like some positive thing here connected to your social life. Like by comparison to the first chart phase, this is a good time to socialize, to mingle, to increase your social contact. So I also see that like in the first phase, you might be meeting someone from a foreign land. For some of you, more specifically, this could be someone who is coming from a place of isolation. So maybe you're gonna see someone who has been in a hospital up until this point, or they're coming back from an ashram, or maybe prison for some of you. I don't know. And they're coming back into your life and they're being a part of your social circle. It's also possible that you are just somehow going to gain from foreign sources. So again, if you're thinking of applying for a job abroad, this is a good idea. And or any kind of profession where you're working for a company or an employer who comes from a faraway land. There's definitely a lot more optimism during this time. This is a great time to complete studies for those of you who are, reaching the end of a cycle. This is a better time with respect to your relations to your father figure and any kind of mentors. It's also a better time for travel by comparison to the chart 1 phase. And let's see what else. You're going to have just a generally more optimistic view of life, and you're going to feel more hopeful, more joyful. You're going to have more opportunities to just focus on the things you love. Focus on your hobbies. Also pursuing an education in a field that you really like. And since Jupiter falls in the 5th, this is also a good time to date, to find someone who might even lead to a potentially long-term relationship. Also because you have the aspect of Saturn. I've talked about this in a video. It doesn't really matter. I think it was called something like case study, marriage case study, or something like that. I talked about the fact that generally when it comes to meeting a significant other, you want to see both Jupiter and Saturn. And if on top of that, you also maybe have, in your horoscope, you have Rahu somehow significantly connected to your 7th house, or the 7th house in the Navamsha or something, it's somehow significantly connected to the partner archetype. This is definitely a great time to meet someone for a potentially significant long-term relationship. And it's definitely just a time when you're going to have an increase of desire towards romance and romantic expression and creative expression. And again, this is a great time for those of you who are interested in teaching and publishing, in writing, creative writing. Also kids. Like, if you have been thinking about having kids, if by any means, this is a good time for that. And also, if you have kids, it's going to be a time of a lot of activity with the kids, I feel. And also mostly a good relationship with the kids because you have Jupiter there. So this is a time when you're going to get a lot of joy from this area signified by the 5th house. So you're also, like I said, you're just going to be focused more on doing what you love, irrespective of whether you're single or not or anything like that. You're just going to be focused on more, maybe even, getting back to some hobbies or finding new hobbies. And for some of you, this could be a time when you're turning a hobby into a profession. This is actually a strong signification if this is something you have been thinking about, of course. It's definitely a good time to focus on, turning a hobby into a career or finding a career that you really enjoy to do. It's something, as in doing something you love for a living. That's what I'm trying to say. And also continues to be a good thing for musicians, a good period. Anything to do with musical instruments. But it's still a time of mostly slow and steady wins the race with respect to your objectives and the things you are heading towards through conscious effort. Okay, so this was the chart 2 phase. Let me see. The chart 3 phase, which is roughly only the last month of 2023, but of course it's going to continue after that. So the main difference is that Rahu is moving into Pisces during this time. So now Rahu's falling into the 4th house of your horoscope. So this shows that this is going to be increased wanderlust. Like you're just going to have a strong desire to go away from your place of birth. For those of you who are still living near your place of birth. So this is definitely a strong indicator that you might feel really drawn to traveling. You might feel really itchy to travel during this time. And Jupiter stays alone in the 5th house, and you have the aspect of Saturn. So still, this is a good time for you to meet someone, to start a new relationship romantically. And there are good chances of meeting someone who's going to be a long-term partner because you have Saturn there as well. But it's also a good time for your finances, for speculative gain again, for education, and again, anything to do with creativity. Rahu falling into the 4th house can show some kind of a rift with the mother figure. So it could also be like there could be some kind of an conflict there, or yeah, some kind of a friction, or maybe some kind of a distance towards the mother figure during this time. But there's also a lot of effort for some of you towards 4th house matters. So this is anything, like I said, to do with the home base. Maybe you want to get a home for some of you. This is a great time to get that. But I also see just a lot of effort to do with homes in general. So this could be for some of you even, wanting to be a real estate agent, or if you are a real estate agent, this is a time to make more money out of this field. There's a lot of focus towards the home and the home base as well. And of course, it could just mean that, again, you are just focused on establishing a new nest or a new sense of home. It could be that also it could be about a vehicle. You could be looking to buy a new vehicle in some way. And also because Rahu shows things that are foreign and exotic, this could be a time when you are probably going to be bringing in a lot of exoticism within the home. You might suddenly feel the need to decorate your place with things from foreign cultures, especially things that have to do with smoke and smoking, like sage and, I don't know, shishas and tobacco of all forms, I don't know, cigars or stuff like that. You might find stronger than average impulses to decorate your home with smoke and stuff like that, incense. And also, or it could be also things from a specific foreign culture that you're interested in. There's a lot of focus during this time on the subconscious. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on this is really weird. Like, I feel like for some of you, this is going to be a time when you're going to be even more interested in the occult than usual. Like, you're going to feel really drawn to things like learning about psychology, understanding your subconscious. For some of you, especially if you have other indicators in the chart, this could be a time when you're getting into research pertaining to these areas like psychology, understanding the subconscious, maybe foreign languages for some of you. You know, you might be drawn to learning a foreign language during this time. But there's also, because of Rahu's influence there, and I don't want to say anything too negative, but it could be that during this time there will be a decreased sense of happiness, and of course it does depend on what else is going on in your horoscope. Meaning you might feel more restless, especially with your peace of mind and stuff. Like, you might feel more antsy, like you're not really comfortable about something. You might have more anxiety, and like I said, a wanderlust. You might get this strong feeling like the grass is greener on the other side, and you really want to move to another place, or maybe just change your home. Also, since you have Ketu in the 10th, is really interesting. Again, for those of you who are spiritually inclined, this is a great time. For those of you who are not spiritually inclined, not a great time. I have to say, as it is, you might expect actually for some of you, especially if you don't have a spiritual view of your profession, or if you're doing a job just for the money, you might really find yourself having a hard time staying focused, and it could really even lead to losing a job during this time. But for those of you who are spiritually inclined, especially if you work in some kind of a profession, maybe you're even a professional tarot reader, or you're a psychic, or especially for those of you who are working with isolation, research, right? Like you are working in a lab, or you are somehow a spiritual teacher, something like that, something that is directly connected to spirituality, you're going to be favored during this time. You might even see an increase in your status, and you might see some growth in your career, and also gains from your career as well. But for those of you who are not spiritually inclined, or you might struggle to see a spiritual meaning to your professional path, you might really have an increased sense of dissatisfaction during this time. So, yeah. Still a good time to start a business with a family member, or getting into business with a family member. Still a good time for people who want to study music, or you want to have some kind of a musical career, or you want to take up an instrument, maybe. This is also a good time. It's better than the previous times, the previous two charts, with respect to your social life. You're going to have good experiences with your, friends, with your older siblings, and you might get opportunities to, a lot more opportunities to socialize and to meet new people. You might gain new friends as well. This also just shows gains in general, so from your profession, which is interesting, considering the fact that there's also potential job loss. And again, I don't want to, and I mentioned this in other videos, don't get overly focused on the negative, because everything is manageable, and everything, can be influenced by free will. And the reason I say this with the Ketu is, like I said, if you might be tempted to slack with that Ketu in the 10th, or you might be feeling like you're no longer as ambitious as you were in the previous phases. You may not be as interested in your finances or your job or your work. So if you start to slack and you start to make mistakes at work, obviously that can lead to a termination. And especially since Ketu is the co-ruler of the 12th and it's going into the 10th house. This is also why I said you're going to be favored if you have a spiritual approach to your career, and or if you are working in a Ketu related field. So this could be connected to anything spiritual, like I said, places of isolation, research, and to a lesser extent it's also to do with electrical devices, like if you're an electrician or you're dealing with cables, you're working with cables. Overall, it's still going to be a time of optimism and a time of energy physically, because Jupiter is aspecting your ascendant. Relations with mentors and your father figure are going to be better during this time. Also, great time, like I don't know if I mentioned this, it's still a good time for study, and it's also a good time to even marry for those of you who are in a long-term relationship, because you have aspect on the 9th house as well from Jupiter and Saturn. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I can see for you, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe and hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, please comment in the comment section with any feedback you would like to give. And of course, you can come back throughout the year and leave feedback with respect to what has happened in your life. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics in astrology, both natal astrology and relationship-oriented astrology. And I also do tarot readings. So if you're interested to find out more about that, you can check out the video description. I left my contact information there, and you can email me, and I will email you back with a list of prices and further information. Thank you very much for listening.